Of Social Media News Live. Exciting show for you guys today. And we're talking about VR, and this is actually virtual too, kind of. Not really, but it is, because this is pre-recorded because I am speaking and Eric is speaking at Disney World right now. So we wanted to go ahead and break some news to you, but and record the podcast and everything. So we're going to push this out live, but we wanted to let you guys know, and we are going live right now as we speak to Amazon. So this is going to be a fun show because it's just strange because it's about Meta. And
this show is so meta.
This show is. So we're going to be talking all about that. Hello to everybody over on Amazon Live who's watching. So I've been doing this, Eric, at the beginning of each kind of a show, especially when we go live on Amazon. But what are you using to broadcast with? Like, I mean, you're using the same mic as me, which is the Heil PR40.
That's right.
What else are you using?
Let's see. I'm using the Rodecaster Pro, which I know you can get on Amazon.
That's why our voices sound so good.
Yes, that's where you get the deep podcaster voice from.
Right.
So that's the whole deck. That we're using that USB wise, as well as you can record to a micro SD card. You can do mix minuses. You can have multiple guests. You can do separate channel tracks, which is really cool. I've actually been doing separate tracks for all my recordings for podcasts now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because then my editor can use those different and isolate the different track. Like, he maybe needs to tweak the sound and doesn't need to tweak it on my end, but on my guest's end. And so that's been helpful with that.
Talk about those.
The earbuds. What are they called again? They're like sport.
The Me Audio, MEE.
Yeah.
Audios. And they're like $13-14, but they're awesome.
Yeah, they're not bad. Yeah, those are really good. The MEE, I think, is what they are. And those work really well because you can't really tell that I've got them in.
Right.
Unless I point them out. And so thanks to Michael Hyatt years ago for showing me that he was using those.
What camera?
And I am using the, what is it called? It's the Elgato face cam.
Yeah.
Which works really well. I really, really like it. It's better than Logitech. I will say that.
Really?
For me.
So I'm using the Canon M50 is what I'm using for mine. And I've been using it for years. And by the way, I'm also using to switch all these things. I've got them programmed into the actual Stream Deck, and I have both of those. I have the XL with all the buttons that allows me to, open up the thing and like, oh, here's Eric. He's the co-host. Oh, there he is. Yeah. So it's really easy to do that kind of stuff. And change up the titles. So I have that all programmed. So I love my Elgato. You have the Elgato camera. I have the Elgato Stream Deck. I also have the key lights. You just use natural light, don't you?
I'm using natural light through my window here, but I've also got like a little, I think it's called Vava, VAVA.
Oh,
and it's got, here, I'll show you.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
It's nice. But what's cool is, here, let me do this. Let's blind the audience. It's got tone colors, so I can do like nighttime vision on it as well.
Warm it up and stuff.
So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that's what we're doing if you guys are watching on Amazon Live. But we are talking today all about the Metaverse and all the changes there. So I am going to go ahead and, excuse me, something flew in my mouth, I guess. I'm going to be talking we're going to talk about the Metaverse. I'm going to hit play, record on the podcast player, and we'll get started. So just give me a little bit. By the way, if you know somebody who's like, okay, they're really into VR, AR, all that stuff, we're going to talk about that today. So make sure you feel free to mention them down below, call them into the conversation. And also, we would love it if you sprinkle the love across the interwebs, let people know, yes, sprinkle the love, jazz hands. We need to let people know about the show, and you guys doing that really helps us out. So I'm going to hit go, and we will get started. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Eric Fisher.
That's right. And this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media. Today, we are joined by my guest / co-host, and we're going to be exploring what in the world is the Metaverse. We're going to be talking about AR versus VR versus MR versus XR. What the heck do all those mean, and what does it matter? And also, we're going to be talking about the future of business in the Metaverse. So really exciting. Eric, thank you so much for being here. So excited you could join me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always love joining you guys here on the show.
Yeah, so Eric Fisher, if you don't know who he is the producer and host of the long-running popular productivity podcast in the business space, Beyond the To-Do List. Eric has also worked as a social media manager and a community manager for over 10 years. He's that old, folks. He's that old. He is currently the senior social media manager at Bizaboo, the event experience OS for in-person, virtual, or hybrid events. So, Eric, thank you so much. It's going to be a great show. He knows all this stuff. We are both super nerds about all this, but I do want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of the show, Ecamm. They are amazing. They have a brand new released that has gone out in the last couple of weeks. It's got a bunch of updates. It's really, really cool. If you're on a Mac, it is a no-brainer for making presentations, recording video. You can record Instagram, because it does the vertical video, all sorts of things. It's what I use to produce and make this show go out live. So make sure to check them out at socialmedianewslive.com/ecamm. That's socialmedianewslive.com/ECAMM. So today we are going to be talking all about the Metaverse and what exactly is the Metaverse. So if you haven't heard, if you've been stuck, in your house and not watching any TV or getting online, Mark Zuckerberg changed the name of Facebook to Meta, and apparently it wasn't very cheap because I guess somebody else had that name. And I guess they didn't know, and they had to pay like $20 million to get from this Meta PC that had already existed. So I kind of find that funny. Somebody probably lost their job over that when they did the research. So what Zuckerberg said, he says, we're basically moving from being Facebook first as a company to being Metaverse first. And so this is really strange, kind of out of the blue. People were kind of like, what is this? And I wanted to play for you guys. This is a commercial that I saw during football on Sunday, and this supposedly explains what Metaverse is, so check this out.
This is the dimension of imagination.
So that was really clear, wasn't it? So, Eric, you've never seen that before. So I want to get your reactions on that. I saw it as it was like prime time, middle football. That was the commercial.
Can you imagine what somebody who had not even heard about this parent company / name change thing at all thought when they saw that? Like, I have no clue what you're talking about. 2, it's from Facebook. And 3, what the heck is Meta? It still doesn't explain.
So
you're going to make my art painting come alive and then put on a dance party and hypnotize me? Like, okay.
So that's what was so funny. When I saw it, I was like, what? I mean, I get we don't really know what the Metaverse is going to be. It's supposed to be the next generation of the internet, but that told me nothing. Other than, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit, the demographics of who Zuck really wants to come back to Facebook. So I think if you remember back in that commercial, who was they were just dancing in their head, like that.
It's all
younger folks, which have been abandoning Facebook in droves. So like my son doesn't use it. I have to hey, did you see what I posted on Facebook for your birthday? Like, no, I don't ever go on Facebook. So anyway, so what is this Metaverse? So this comes from Neil Stephenson. He famously coined this term metaverse in the 1992 novel Snow Crash, and this referred to a 3D virtual world inhabited by avatars of real people, and lots of other science fiction media includes metaverse-like systems. But this was the most common one for for these metaverse enthusiasts. So you've got Ready Player One, which is a great book. It was a movie Spielberg did that talks about the metaverse. But there's not really any universally accepted definition of the real metaverse because it's not here yet. Other than it's going to be like the Internet 2.0 or the next thing. A lot of times these Silicon Valley proponents reference this kind of definition by this capitalist Matthew Ball, and he says the metaverse is an expansive network of persistent, real-time rendered 3D worlds and simulations that support continuity of identity, objects, history, payments, and entitlements, and can be experienced all the time together by effectively unlimited number of users, each with an individual sense of presence. Now, Facebook, who is naming their whole company off of this, kind of describes it a little bit more simply. They go, the metaverse is a set of virtual spaces where you can create and explore with other people who aren't in the same physical space as you. So, it's this open virtual augmented reality platform. So they've been around for decades. Second Life, if you remember that, Eric, back in the day, that was supposed to be a metaverse. A lot of times in the movies and novels, they're not a good thing. Matrix, that's, waking up from the metaverse is what the whole story is about. So the interesting thing about this whole announcement, and, we talked about this commercial, is the demographics. So Zuck said this. He says, I do think it's important to clarify when I'm talking about what our North Star demographic here is. We're talking about young adults 18 to 29, not primarily teens, and certainly not primarily kids, but like college and post-college. That's sort of historically been the strong base for us. And it generally continues to be a strong base, which I disagree. But I think it's really important that as so many more people use all our products, we don't lose sight of that. So that commercial, what he said that I just quoted, he's doing a play for these younger adults. I just don't know if that commercial's it. So what do you think? So he thinks it's going to be the next version of the internet. Do you agree, Eric?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know. So many reactions that I saw to this announcement, especially with people that I know, that I listen to tech-wise, that talk about VR, specifically VR, although we're going to go into variations of other Rs.
Right.
I don't know that it's the next version of the internet, because I think the internet is not necessarily going to, I don't know. I don't think it's going to morph into being a lot more or a lot different. Although I do like the idea of there being the potential for a matrix that you voluntarily go into and you are aware that you're in it, as well as you aren't being drained of your body heat for being a battery. But
that's right.
There is also inherently, like, here's the thing, like, we've already been talking about for a long time, specifically with kids, but also with adults who have these new learned habits of scrolling and swiping and constant, like, looking down instead of, being in the world that's already in existence. And so I'm a little hesitant to say that, like, this is a good thing that he wants to move forward with this and, like, push full steam ahead into, like, being even more jacked into something,
right,
without limit. It's a little come on.
So one of the things that a lot of because if you do a search, there's so many articles that are written about this, and there's a lot of them that, like, okay, it's a distraction or whatever for Facebook, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But one of the things is, like, how do you police this? Like, if you go in there, and a lot of them are like saying, you have limits and you do all these things, and it's almost gamifying good behavior. Like, you level up if you don't, go outside of the norm, or if you don't harass somebody, or you're not a troll. But then Did you ever see the Black Mirror episode that had Dallas Howard?
Yes,
Price,
I've seen all of Black Mirror.
Right, when she had those stars, and like I didn't get enough star, all that stuff. It reminded me a lot of that when they talked about how they're going to police this, and I'm like,
yeah, you're basically Yelp reviewing individual people, and that's their cred moving up. It's like it was almost like a virtual Clout. Remember Clout?
Yeah. And so I don't know if that's the big fear with this, because so you and I are both, we both have these devices, right? We both have these Oculus Quests, and they're amazing. They're fun. They're nerdy. But you and I both a lot of times play single player because it is really freaky, because you and I have gone on there together, and it's like somebody sitting right next to you. Like, it's like you're here. And if it wasn't you, I would be uncomfortable. And I was even a little uncomfortable with you. But it was
going to say, you don't want me sitting next to you in real life.
So. But I mean, so there's this intimacy, and until you've strapped one on, like one of these devices on your face, you don't understand it. And there is something there. It is the next generation. I see why all these companies are getting behind it. But let
me I was, you talked me into it. Right. I was hesitant, and I was like, I don't know if I want to, like, I already have an addicted personality by nature in terms of technology. And so I thought, the last thing I really want to do is like put something on my head and close off the real world and be immersed in a non-real world. However, I did find that it works really well to block out. I mean, I'm a productivity guy, so blocking out all distractions and immersing in something specifically for a certain period of time, whether it's pretending you're in a movie theater when you couldn't go to one, or to do a Beat Saber workout when, we don't have real lightsabers in the real world that work like that.
You may not, but
and some of the, but some of the other aspects of it's been really helpful. It's really helpful for cabin fever. So, and moving into cooler weather again right now, it's been a year. I think it's been about a year, or a little under, or a little over, I should say, since I've had it. And I got to say, like, I don't use it every day. I don't even use it every week. But when I use it, it definitely helps me mental health wise. So I am a believer in this technology being used for good. But that's the problem, is that, like, I'm just going to say, I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg to know what's good for anybody right now. So,
yeah. And it's very, very cool. The games on it and the stuff you can do. I see a lot of our friends, like I see Leslie Samuel on it all the time. Steve Dotto's on it. I see all their, some other productivity people that that are on the platform. I see a lot of them doing it for exercise. So I think that is a natural fit. There's a lot of people who are doing it that way. You mentioned, cabin fever. Yeah, I like to watch movies because I can sit in a virtual theater that has dynamic lighting, like it reflects off of stuff while the movie's going. It's amazing. But when we're talking about what Zuckerberg wants, is he wants us to interact with each other. He had when he was doing his demo, talk about fencing with famous people and all these different things that, to me, I use the Oculus to escape. I put it on to escape from stuff. I don't want to use it to connect so much with other people. Now, there are people who love doing that. That's the way they're wired. Leslie Samuel, he jumps into everything and loves to talk to just random people he finds and sees what they say. That's his style. There's a lot of people like that. That is not mine. So I think it's gonna come back down to, how are they going to police it? How can you, because I've gone into like Horizons when it first opened up, like Horizons event. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I want to go see what's going on. I want to see a concert. And it was a bunch of kids screaming and acting goofy and stupid in the lobby. And I left. It was like, it's like something, you wouldn't want to go to that in the real world. Why would I want to go and have kids? It's like when they're, get off my lawn. And I was like, in virtual reality, come on. So
get off my digital lawn.
Right. So it seems to me like this is a gamble. There's a lot of people who say he's using this to distract from what's going on with all the other things that have broke on Facebook. He says, and he has a good point. He says, no, that's not really the reason. If I was trying to do this, is the worst time to launch a tech company or rename or rebrand. is in the middle of this stuff. So it makes no sense for me to, throw this in there. So I can kind of get this, but he's also, it's very, very blatant that he's trying to win back the younger demographic. So do you think Facebook or Meta can win back younger people?
I think it depends on what the technology ends up being and how accessible it is. Because right now, here, think about this: the Oculus Quest, which will become the Meta Quest rebrand.
Right.
Like the Oculus is going away too. The name Oculus,
right.
It will be Meta. If you think about what it costs to purchase that, that's not cheap.
It's cheaper than it's been. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I'm holding up a phone that's worth 2 or 3 of those headsets. So it's like,
right.
Pot calling kettle black.
Right.
So but I think that in terms of, we're only still now at the point where internet, the access of it being utilitized or, becoming a utility that is included if you're renting from somebody, that kind of thing. Like you've got your water, you got your electricity, you got your heat, you got your internet. Like access to it is one thing, but then having to buy something to then get access to it, I don't know. I think that ultimately it's going to depend on how not just cool and, experiential it is, but how easy it is to get to it. Because you can't forget that Facebook was just another website, and it still is just another website.
Right.
Even prior to, there being apps on phones and things like that. It was just you go to facebook.com. Oh, I have a school address. Cool. And then beyond that, it was a little, outside of the existing schools and all that kind of stuff that's in the social network movie.
Right.
But that's the thing is like, it's not about who gets it first or what they're using it for anymore. It's about what's the actual value of the metaverse. And if it has, because here's the thing, if it's not really worthwhile for me to go pretend hike with friends in the metaverse, and it's better for me to go do that in real life, then we'll go that way. I'm talking about the digital pendulum swinging one way or the other. Because there are certain generations where it's like, well, the old generation, like they plugged in phones all the time. Well, we'll be the generation that unplugs. And then the other one behind them swinging back the other way. And meanwhile, everybody having hybrid. So anyway.
So here's the thing. So, I've talked to my parents and they still have trouble understanding that I have friends that are on live. Like you and I see each other 3 times a year at the most,
yes,
but we meet.
Well, it's been a long, recently we did, but before that, prior to COVID, even with COVID out of the picture, let's just say COVID doesn't exist. Great. It was about 3 times a year. We'd see each other in the same physical space.
So when I tell people like I have, accountability groups and I meet with like a mastermind online and we're spread across the world, they're like, how can you have relationships and productive relationships out of that kind of stuff? But I'm like, well, I meet weekly. I meet more with these people than I do like people at my church or whatever, it's so I get it. So you can't like, and then we get together. It's like nothing. It's just continuing the conversation. So I get how this could be the next thing. I can see how that is. I think as it gets cheaper, and we're going to talk about AR and some of that other stuff where, it's already built, it's already baked into some phones. So I think that kind of stuff would be, something, but this VR stuff, it's getting cheaper. It's really cool. And the more people that, try it, I think are going to be like, oh my gosh. And the smart thing is they went with kids and they did gaming first. Like he spent a lot of money on Oculus and he spent a lot of money, like, what is it? Vader Immortal. That is just an amazing game. If you're a Star Wars fan, I almost cry when I put on Oculus and I was able to fly an X-Wing with Rogue Squadron and have my joystick. And you're in a cockpit of an X. Oh my gosh, every fanboy's dream you can do. And I think if they would play that at like a Star Wars convention and just say, hey, try this, they would sell out of Oculuses like that day. It's that cool. So anyway, so I think it's on its way. I think they're starting to win back younger people. It's going to be from the commercials and what he's even said. That's their big push. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But one of the things I do want to talk about is, and it's very confusing to a lot of people, and even me who has one, but what is the difference between VR, AR, MR, and now XR? So, oh my gosh, what is going on? So this is what I scoured the interwebs, and the interesting thing is a lot of people do not, it's still morphing. It's still like, this is new stuff. So as of now, this is kind of what it's from the consensus that I've found. So VR is like this Oculus, like this is where you strap it on, you enter a virtual world. You're not in your body, and you're interacting with the virtual world. So that's what VR is. That's kind of like Ready Player One, if you have seen that. So AR is like snap lenses, like if you put something on and it's superimposed over you. So that's augmented reality. That's it's almost like Jarvis, like when he was in the suit and he would have all those HUD devices, Tony Stark, he was Iron Man. It's stuff superimposed, like when you're walking around. Google Glass did this. That was the first kind of experience with this. So that's already here. It's already coming. You can get that kind of stuff. You think about Google Translate, where you can hold it up and look at a sign and it'll translate for you. Now it actually will listen to what people are saying and will actually speak it to you, like the Star Trek translator. So this stuff's here already. MR is mixed reality. So that's the merging of real and virtual worlds together to produce new environments and visualizations where like physical and digital objects kind of coexist at the same time. So that is like Pokemon Go. That's pretty much what that was. That was when you would go out and you would find those Pokemon, and they would be interacting. I remember one was hiding from my mother-in-law, which was hilarious. So those are already there. So, and Apple has got that stuff baked in with its depth sensing technology, all that stuff. It's the next step is that's going to probably come way faster, in my opinion, than another advance.
There'll be a lot
in VR.
more. Yeah, there'll be a lot more advances in that realm.
Right.
For now, because the tech has to really get more powerful and more compacted.
Right.
For especially VR.
Yeah. And the last one, XR, is extended reality. It's this new term to all these definitions of these technical worlds. So for now, there's only a few people who are really aware of this. Now you guys are. Extended reality refers to all of the real and virtual combined environments to human-machine interactions by computer technology and wearables. So it's kind of like an umbrella term for everything that fits underneath it. So you're going to hear a lot more about XR as these other technologies develop. So VR, virtual reality, AR, augmented reality, MR is mixed reality, and XR is extended reality. So the XR, they made this term so it would help with not confuse the public more, and I think it does the opposite of that. So it's just another term people have got to know. So that's what the difference between all those things are. So Eric, I know you and I both used Oculus as a work thing. Would you go around with Oculus strapped to your face all day if you had to work? Like, if we're going to talk about it in the next section, but some of these tools that are coming, would you do that? Is that something, how long can you spend in this device?
That's a good question. So yeah, I think my limit is probably an hour or two at any given time. And again, that goes to what I was talking about earlier in terms of the not just the technology being more powerful and being higher frame rate, higher resolution, but losing some of the bulkiness and the head weight of it,
Right.
Because it needs more breathability. It needs more, it needs more flexibility. It needs to be compacted a bit. It needs to be more like goggles instead of like a horse feed trough that's like laying down your head.
And they've made it lighter. So I've had from the Rift to the Go to the first Oculus, and this is the Oculus 2. Now I've added some things. I've got a extra pad that I put in there. I am so nerdy that I usually wear glasses. I have prescription lenses that pop on over there, so I don't have to wear. When I take off my glasses, I don't want to scratch my things, and I have prescription lenses. And this thing has an extended battery, this headset that they sell from Oculus, and it tightens to the back of your head, which is really, really cool. But the problem with these, they're always heavy on your face. They're front heavy. And this has a battery at the back that actually counterbalances it. So I really like this setup that I have here. But you're right. Even with all this and the comfort that I've invested in it, I'm not going to wear this for more. It's hard for me to get through a full movie.
Probably one movie. I was going to say a movie is kind of pushing the limit right now.
Even that, I'm like, golly, because the cool thing is they've now made stuff inside of the Oculus Quest environment where you can double tap and it will go to your camera and you can walk around and you can see your environment. You're not blind.
Yeah, the pass-through mode.
The other cool thing is that I really like is that they have new environment. So I drew my desk. So I have an environment, my desk, and I can look over it and I see my couch. Like I have a thing of my couch where I outline, so I can get up and move to my couch and then everything moves with me. So they're already starting to do these things to allow you to spend more time in it and make it easier to interact with your real world. So very, very cool stuff. So here's the other question, Eric. So VR, that's the thing that you strap on your face and you're in an environment. There's things at Disney and other amusement parks now where you can ride roller coasters with it and all sorts of stuff. So AR is here now. Like a lot of stuff you can get, like you can actually see when the new phone comes out what it looks like on your table. Like you could, do the AR and drop stuff in. You can actually take like furniture and drop it in your room to see how it looks like. It's in these Apple devices now. So do you think because of it's already built into Apple that AR is going to go faster than VR? Like development, because it's easier for people to have access to?
I think so, because it continues to move. AR continues to move at a really fast rate. I'll give you an example, and Jeff, you'll love this. Allbirds. So the shoe Allbirds has an app, and that app allows you to virtually try on shoes. And so I did that. I picked a certain kind and it said, see how these look on your feet. And I pointed them down at my feet, and the ones that I was already wearing disappeared and the new ones appeared there, and I moved them around, and it was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I know how these will look like on my feet, like the space that I'm in and everything. And it was the most clear experience that I've seen of AR interacting in the actual space that it was in. Like it really, like I could not tell that I wasn't wearing those new shoes already. And it was like, what? So it kind of blew me away. I think because we're already that far in and it's that close, AR is definitely going to stay ahead for a while. Think about it this way. When did Lawnmower Man come out? And even before that,
that was like the first VR, to get graphics. Yeah.
Right. Virtual reality has been like, even in its earliest implementations where it was kind of working, remember, like, it's been so long, but again, I think we're hitting an inflection point where momentum has built up for so long and the technology's there. And I think that partly due to Mark Zuckerberg announcing this, it's validating it to a certain extent as a mainstream pursuit, not just for Meta, but everybody else who's working on this.
So you have younger kids than I do. And I remember Pokemon Go was just like this huge, everybody all the time. I got to go do it. Is there still stuff? I know Harry Potter, there's a Harry Potter game that does that. Are your kids still doing the Pokemon Go? And is that still a thing?
I mean, it's funny you ask that because my son has finally now been allowed to do it for the very first time. And he has to do, thanks Apple for screen time. He has to ask to be able to do it. Right. I've got it turned off until he asks, but as of a week or two ago, he's been able to do it. And it's brand new to him, although he's been aware of it, and his sister still does it. So it's like, now they can kind of do it together. So it's not gone. In fact, there was, I don't know the news here, but there was a lot of like updates and things that just happened recently with Pokemon Go. So
okay, so I mean, it's there, and it's almost get to the point like AR is like it just happens. I mean, it's just like, oh yeah, that's AR. It's not a big deal. Like, you could even movie posters. You can go to Marvel posters and do stuff, and they'll come to life and do really cool stuff when you're at the theater. So I mean, it's out there commercially. And it's pretty exciting. So, MR, mixed reality, is still more and more. I kind of thought like some of the Apple stuff that had coming where you could do that depth camera, and you could have like bubbles and stuff in your room, and you could move your hand and it would affect the stuff. Mixed reality is actually going to have like real objects and virtual coming together. So I don't think that's there quite yet. And XR, we talked about, is kind of the umbrella term over everything. But something that is here right now is Ecamm, and they just launched a brand new release. So it's amazing. It's what we're using for this show, switching everything, recording, podcast. You mentioned mixed tracks, these split tracks before. You can do that with Ecamm. It actually records your guest and your output and separate tracks, and you can mix it together. Also, as a podcast, it's a great, great tool. You can find out more about them at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. That's socialmedianewslive.com/ECAMM. All right, for our final section, we're going to be talking about what this means for business. So it's really interesting because, a lot of times we hear this new stuff and we poo-poo it. We're like, this is silly. We'll never have flying cars, that kind of thing. But, they really think that a lot of these technologists think that it'll eventually evolve to something like the metaverse. It probably is not going to be anything what we're thinking about today, but it's going to be, they're saying it's going to be as transformative a society and industry as the mobile phone. Because you think back before, I remember bag phones. I'm that old. I remember bag phones. But you think about cell phones now, and Eric, you even pointed out all this stuff that's pre-loaded on it. So it's going to probably change, in the next 5 years more than anything we thought. So in fact, Facebook has even announced even more meta plans, or Meta has announced more meta plans. They're going to introduce next year Project Cambria, which I would have changed that name. That's too close to Cambria. Yeah.
That's a little too close to home, specifically for
anything
them, of all people. Come on.
Anything with a C, stay away from Facebook. So it's a high-end mixed reality headset. They previewed it at one of their shows, and it's going to connect virtual graphics with real world and full color. The interesting thing they've said about this stuff, they're going to be eye tracking, so you can see like when you're looking over to the side, you can tell that you're not paying attention to me, or you're scratching your eye and looking up. I would be able to tell that in VR. Yeah. So it's supposed to allow more realistic avatars, and they're also working on a pair of AR glasses called Nazare, I think is how you pronounce it. And they're still several years out on that one. And Zuck says those glasses are going to be just as widely used as mobile phones, which Facebook phone really didn't work. So take that as you may. So it's supposed to look like a normal pair of glasses, but it's going to be like Jarvis. And so he wants us to think less of it as a social media product and something else like a phone. He wants that tech kind of stuff. So interesting stuff. The other thing, Slack is coming to Oculus. You mentioned that they're going to change the name. They're actually making it now. So there's a big uproar in the VR community when Oculus 2 came out and they got an update, and you had to have a Facebook account to use the Oculus.
Yes. Now
they're going away from that, and you're not going to have all these different, you won't brick your Oculus if you don't want to be on Facebook. So that was interesting to hear about as well. Also, Microsoft Teams is coming next year to VR. So it's not just like this, maybe it's a great idea. This is stuff that's happening, and these other big companies are behind this too. Facebook Horizon Workroom is another thing that is coming out. Logitech announced a keyboard that you're going to be able to type on in VR. I've played with a little bit of some of the third-party workspaces, and it's cool to have monitors as big as you want and as many as you want and wrapped around you. So, we take these Instagram photos of our desk now and have our perfect desk set up. Will it be one with VR? Who knows? And so Horizon's Workroom's already here in beta. I've been trying to get on. I was having some issues logging on. The other really interesting thing, and we talked about that until you experience it, you don't really get it. And this was announced like 2 days ago, but Meta may open physical stores. And the interesting thing in these articles, they said, we don't know if they're going to sell anything. It may just be to see Portal and the Oculus and to try it on. So that's kind of a big deal, I think, for, because when Apple opened their stores, it took off. So, and speaking of Apple, they're working on a headset and AR glasses. So they'll probably be a lot better designed and a lot more expensive. So what do you think about all this stuff, Eric? Like all the news and Microsoft and then Slack. I mean, I just didn't think Slack would do it, but I'm like, they're going to Oculus.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Slack is coming to the Oculus. I also noticed that Messenger integrated with that, Messenger being Facebook's
Yeah.
Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And then also saw that there was a beta of the Facebook app as well as Instagram app for Oculus. I didn't yet. I downloaded them. I haven't yet tried them. It'll be interesting to see what the user interface is in a virtual space like that, interacting with social media content. I'm going to have to try that out and report back on that. I mean, I think that with there's a momentum shift here. I think that's the key piece, is that we will see a lot more in this space coming faster now that there's been an overarching and intentional move in that direction. I mean, all of the stuff up till this point has been, oh, Facebook acquired Oculus. Right. Oculus is a separate brand. It's called. Now they're just kind of saying, no, that, in other words, we're moving towards the next overall macro thing. We're not looking at all these different pockets of micro software. We're into, and they already were into hardware with Oculus, but now they're into Oculus as a way of life in a way. Mm-hmm. It's like the let's just say it's like the XR way of life is what It seems like. Meta, as I'm trying to not call them Facebook, is pushing forward as what their goal is.
Yeah, and so Forbes had a really interesting thing about business and VR and all this stuff out not very long ago. And one of the things, and I thought this was really interesting because this has to do with events. And they said they really see a use case where you could watch something on your computer, let's say like a virtual conference, like we're all familiar with, but then you're able to go into your VR and interact with people from that event. And there's already been events that have done this, and they've said it's been really successful because there is a little more intimacy than in getting in VR and having an avatar and interacting with people and letting them draw on a whiteboard there, and you're there interacting with them at the same time. I can see that happening for events because going into a breakout Zoom room isn't the same thing as going in there and being able to interact inside of a virtual reality kind of room. So then if you could have Slack, if you're doing a team thing, I mean, so I can see that. I can see some really cool business things, even in the midst of, still having these hybrid type of, conferences. So I would love, I've gone to some concerts in VR. I've watched some of the SpaceX launches in VR, which were really, really cool. So I think those kind of things that you wouldn't be able to go and do would be, if I could go to Adobe Max, which is a big designer summit, and I could go in and then interact with some of the high-level designers, that would be cool. If we could go watch Jim Gaffigan and sit together on on the front row and look up and watch him perform, I would dig. If you could do that with YouTube, you would pay $30 a ticket if you could go and watch YouTube in VR, probably, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I paid what, $15 or something to stream a concert the other day.
Yeah,
a month or so ago, from Chicago to my home here 3 hours away on my big screen TV, and it was totally worth it. I felt like I was there in a way. I was partaking in something live. It's just that if I was able to have a 360 camera there that would be my proxy, perfect. Yeah, totally. Let me in.
And the thing we haven't even touched upon, and they said was a big deal with businesses, is one is the cryptocurrency inside of these kind of VR, worlds, and also NFTs. So if you don't know what NFT is, a non-fungible token, like it's a digital baseball card that with blockchain, you own that number of that, and it's yours, but it's not real. And so they think there's a big market for NFTs inside of VR. So who knows? I mean, Disney just partnered, I think it drops today, with a big NFT, and they are super corporate, commercial stuff, but you could buy a gold statue of Elsa as an NFT probably for $300. I mean, it's just, anyway, stuff's happening, folks, inside it. And so I think the default thing for us is to go, oh, that's ridiculous. No one's going to pay for an NFT. But they already are.
People have. Yeah,
they're already doing it.
It's happened. It's happening. It will happen more often. This is the kind. I mean, I think, Jeff, you almost need to have an annual State of the Metaverse episode, or even every 6 months, something along those lines. Just because I think there's going to be an uptick in activity in this front, and it definitely means we've got to be thoughtful and aware of, like I was alluding to earlier, lockdown in terms of technology and limits and boundaries, and thinking about what we're using it for and why we want to or need to use it. What are the benefits? What are the downsides? Let's keep all of that in mind as we adopt this new technology, because remember, there was a point in time where you didn't have cell phones and you didn't have smartphones, and yet we moved past both those lines fairly quickly, and now it's a constant. Like a smartphone on your person at all times is default for most people, in the modern commercial world.
Well, you and I are going to Disney World for a conference, Lou Mangello's Momentum, this weekend, and we're there right now. And the power of VR. And the thing that's interesting is Disney has moved to almost everything with your phones. Like if you don't have a smartphone, I don't know how you navigate Disney World. You got your ticket on there, mobile orders for food, your reservations, you unlock your room for your hotel. You can get a physical card, but they're trying to phase that out. They don't even give you magic bands anymore. You have to buy them separate. So it's moving that way to, this tech's going to be around. And I think we may have to do a show every 6 months or so as things change. But we want to know what you guys think. Let us know in the comments, and we will definitely check on those to see, like, is this something you see the future going towards? And when stuff happens, when there's a momentum shift or a new technologies, there's always opportunities. So do you see an opportunity for your business? I mean, we didn't even touch about marketing, how that's going to change with the, marketing and VR and all that stuff.
Let me throw this. You mentioned marketing, you mentioned VR, and I immediately go to what the goal of the bad guy or the villain in Ready Player One was to be able to, when you put the headset on, everywhere you look is ads. And I'm like, no.
So it's when we talk about AR, it's easy for me to think about Minority Report. Remember when Tom Cruise walked and they were scanning his irises and all the specialized ads were coming just for him, and him seeing himself in those clothes. And then it started going and they tracked him, and they can track where you're. Just think of how much information Meta will be able to gather because they're doing eye tracking. Like you go to a website in VR, they're going to be able to see what you look on first, where you click off and how fast and all that stuff. There's all sorts of data points when you strap on a device that they can collect. So it's going to be really interesting with privacy. So let us know down below what you guys think. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for everybody watching. We had some people commenting. Corinder is here. Lisa is watching us on Amazon Live. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching us live. I want to know if you guys have the Oculus and how often you use it, because I strap it on once in a while, but I don't do it like more than an hour, because then it just gets a little weird. But anyway, that's our show today. Eric Fisher, where can people find out more about everything, Eric?
Yeah, well, best place is, first off, go to beyondthetodolist.com and check out the podcast. We've got episodes where we talk about technology and boundaries and things like that. All the kind of, hey, let's be safe about this stuff as we're integrating it and using it in our lives, especially making it productive. But two, hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/Eric with a K, the letter J, FISHER. That's probably the easiest way. So cool. I'll talk to you there.
Yeah. And he's got a ton of awesome podcasts. Go check him out. Like some people who don't even use technology, like, oh gosh, what's his name? You can't even contact him on.
Yeah, I'm thinking of it right now.
It's
Cal Newport.
Yeah.
Cal Newport.
Yeah. So go check out Eric. His podcast is amazing. It has some great guests. We are also a podcast, so make sure you guys go Check us out. Just do a search for Social Media News Live on your favorite podcast player and leave us a rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here. We will be back next week at the regular time. We're always on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon Live, all the places. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Like that.
Right, you got us over here looking like a hot mess.
No, it's actually a powerful live streaming app for Mac called Ecamm Live. So you're able to use your mirrorless camera as a virtual webcam, and you can tweak the colors right in Ecamm Live using their camera effects, and then bring this video right into Zoom, Google Meet, and pretty much any other virtual meeting app. You can even stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn and bring in comments right onto the video.